All right, ready to dive into some seriously big questions today. We're talking about the very building blocks of, well, everything energy and matter. But we're not stopping there. We're going deep into the cosmology laid out in the Urantia book, specifically paper 42, to see what it says about how these things connect to, mind. You know how some cosmologies, they feel like some giant physics equation? Well, this one reads more like a story where energy isn't just some scientific concept. It's like the primary force driving creation.
And that's what I find so compelling about the Urantia book's approach. It starts with this idea of God, the universal Father, as the ultimate source of energy. Imagine, if you will, a never-ending river of pure energy flowing outward, giving rise to everything we observe and experience.
Okay, hold on. So instead of God just creating the universe and stepping back, this is more like the universe is this constant flow of energy from the source itself.
Precisely. And this energy isn't some static thing either. The Urantia book, it gets surprisingly specific, actually. It outlines 7 distinct levels of energy, each with its own unique properties in relationship to this idea of a divine source.
7 levels.
Okay.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity. Where do we even begin with something like that?
It all starts with what the book calls space potency.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most fundamental level, the raw potential of energy before it manifests into anything we could recognize. Pure possibility, just waiting to be activated.
So like the blank canvas before the masterpiece, there's something almost poetic about that, space potency.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we go from a blank canvas to, well, a universe full of stuff?
That's where primordial force comes in. This is the first stirring of space potency, you see, that initial spark of movement and action. Think of it as the energy equivalent of the Big Bang, but on a much grander scale.
Okay, so we've gone from potential to action, from the blank canvas to the first brushstroke. What comes next on this cosmic energy ladder?
Well, this is where things begin to get really interesting. We enter the realm of emergent energies. Now, this energy isn't just active. It's starting to respond to forces like gravity, hinting at the formation of structures within the vastness of space. It's like the canvas is now becoming populated with shapes and forms.
We're starting to see the building blocks of the universe taking shape, literally. This is where we shift from abstract concepts to something a bit more tangible, right? We're starting to get a glimpse of the universe as we know it, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning.
You're absolutely right. We've only just begun to climb this cosmic energy ladder. The next level up is, well, what the Urantia book calls universe power. And this is the energy responsible for everything we can observe in the cosmos. It's the force behind stars igniting, galaxies swirling, even, the gentle breeze you might feel on a summer day.
Okay, now that's something I can wrap my head around. Stars, planets, life itself, all powered by this universe power. It really makes you realize just how interconnected everything in the universe really is, huh?
Exactly. But the Urantia book, it doesn't stop at the familiar either. It describes even higher levels of energy existing in realms, well, beyond our current scientific understanding. Levels like Havona energy. This is associated with the central universe, a place of unimaginable beauty and perfection. And then there's transcendental energy. Yeah. This is something that's linked to beings and realities that exist. Beyond the scope of our 7 super universes, it's hard to even find the words to describe them.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like we're venturing into the realm of science fiction here, but what makes it so compelling is that it's all rooted in this spiritual framework, right? It's not just about these abstract forces. It suggests a universe teeming with life and consciousness, much of it, well, beyond our current comprehension.
Precisely. And finally, we reach the pinnacle, the highest energy level of them all, Monota.
Mm-hmm.
This energy exists on paradise, the dwelling place of the universal Father, the source of all energy in existence.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, each of these 7 levels represents a step closer to this ultimate source, a deepening connection to the divine. It's like a cosmic hierarchy, not just of energy, but of consciousness and existence itself.
That's a great way to put it. But let's not forget about matter. You see, according to the Urantia book, even the most solid-seeming objects are ultimately expressions of this same energy, constantly vibrating and interacting on a level we can barely perceive.
Okay, so how does that work exactly? How do we get from these mind-boggling levels of energy to the physical stuff we experience every day?
Well, the Urantia book proposes the existence of these incredibly tiny particles called ultimatons. Think of them as the most fundamental building blocks of matter, even smaller than the subatomic particles we know about.
Smaller than atoms. Okay, now we're really going deep. So how do these ultimatons build up to create, well, me, you, this microphone, everything?
Imagine, if you will, these tiny ultimatons clustering together to form electrons. Then clusters of even more ultimatons form protons. And of course, protons and electrons, they're the building blocks of atoms, which then combine to form molecules, and so on, until you have all the complexity of the physical universe.
Wow. It's amazing to think that everything we see, touch, and interact with, it all boils down to these tiny vibrating particles, all ultimately expressions of energy. But what I find especially fascinating is the way the Urantia book uses analogies to explain these complex ideas. It's almost like, it's trying to make this cosmic knowledge accessible to everyone, not just physicists and mathematicians.
Absolutely. And one of the most striking analogies it uses is the comparison between an atom and our very own solar system.
Oh, I've heard about this. Tell me more.
Picture the nucleus of an atom, with its protons and neutrons, as the sun at the center of our solar system. Now imagine the electrons whirling around this nucleus, much like planets orbiting the sun. It's a simplification, of course, but it helps us grasp the inherent order and elegance of the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The universe is full of these incredible patterns, repeating themselves on every level, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. It's enough to make your head spin, but in a good way, of course.
It certainly sparks a sense of awe and wonder. But what's even more intriguing is that the Urantia book doesn't just stop at the physical structure of the universe. It goes a step further, you see, and it posits that behind all this energy and matter, there's something even more fundamental at play.
Okay, we've covered energy, we've explored matter, and now we're moving into the realm of mind. This is where things get really interesting for me. I've always been fascinated by the connection between the physical and the mental, the seen and the unseen. What does the Urantia book have to say about the role of mind in all of this? So we've got this universe built on energy, right? Forming matter. But with mind somehow, underlying it all, it's a lot to take in, but I have to say it's a pretty amazing picture so far. What does the Urantia book actually say about how mind fits into this whole cosmic puzzle?
Well, it suggests that mind, or what it calls spirit mind, it isn't just some byproduct of physical processes. Instead, it's presented as, like, the fundamental creative force behind those processes. It's like saying there's an intelligence, a consciousness, permeating everything.
So not just a universe running on autopilot, but one that's being guided, shaped, even thought into existence.
You got it. And what's really cool is that this isn't some distant, hands-off kind of guidance either. The Urantia book suggests that this cosmic mind is actually what animates us too. It's the source of our own creativity, our intuition, even our capacity for spiritual experience.
Okay, that's where I really start to see the connections. We've talked about how everything is ultimately energy, right? But if mind is the driving force behind that energy, then maybe what we perceive as physical is just one way this mind is expressing itself.
That's a very insightful observation. And it raises some fascinating questions, doesn't it? If our minds are reflections of this cosmic mind, imagine the untapped potential that exists within us. Think about the things we could achieve if we could tap into that source more fully.
Wow. It's almost like the Urantia book is giving us a glimpse of a much larger reality, one where our thoughts, our choices, even our seemingly small acts of kindness might have implications that ripple outward, impacting not just our own lives, but the very fabric of the universe.
And that's where things get really interesting. Because if that's true, then we have a responsibility to use this gift of mind wisely, don't we? It's no longer just about understanding the mechanics of energy and matter, but about recognizing our own role as participants in this vast interconnected web of being.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? To think that we have even a tiny part to play in this cosmic dance. It makes you look at the world around you a little differently, I think. Suddenly, those everyday worries seem a little less significant, and the possibilities, well, they seem endless.
Exactly, and I think that's what the Urantia book's cosmology ultimately invites us to do.
Yeah.
To expand our perspective, to embrace a grander vision of ourselves and the universe we inhabit, to remember that we're not just observers in all of this, but active participants, co-creators with the very mind that brought it all into being.
It's a powerful message, and one that leaves me with a lot to think about, that's for sure. To everyone listening, if this deep dive into energy, matter, and mind has sparked your curiosity, keep exploring. Keep asking those big questions. The Urantia book offers one perspective for sure, but who knows what other insights await as you continue your own personal journey of discovery.